the Vietnam War. When I was young, right, I was in the American military. I was in the American military from 1965 to 1975, which was coterminous with the Vietnam War. And over the course of those 10 years, I watched the United States get battered in Vietnam and lose. It was a deeply humbling experience for the American people. And the thing I learned was you do not want to go into a place like Vietnam. It's a prescription for real trouble. The French were there before us. The French were defeated at the Dien Phu in 1954. De Gaulle told us in 1964 and 1965, don't go in there. We've been there, done that. It did not turn out well. It's not going to turn out well for you. It did not turn out well for us. And then I remember in 1979, the Chinese foolishly invaded North Vietnam, or it was then Vietnam, but the northern part of Vietnam, and they got their snaps whacked. In 1979, the Soviets invaded Afghanistan. Most of my colleagues, if not all my colleagues in the national security community, were aghast. Soviets are on the march. This is the end of the world. We have to double the defense budget. We have to do this. We have to do that. I said, you're dead wrong. They just jumped into a giant quagmire. If you're arms racing with the Soviet Union, what you want them to do is try and invade a country like Afghanistan. Guess what happened to us? We're still there 14 years later. 14 years later, 18 years later. The longest war in American history. Stay out of these places. People in countries like Iraq, countries like Afghanistan, and other countries around the world do not want the United States invading them and telling them how to do their politics. And what happens is we become an occupier, and that leads to an insurgency, and it is one giant mess. So you want to stay out. The point is you get resistance. And by the way, the power of nationalism also applies to the Russians and the Chinese. You know that the United States is interested in foisting liberal democracy on Moscow and on Beijing. There's no question about that. You go to Moscow and you go to Beijing and you talk to the foreign policy elites about how they think about it. They think about it the same way we think about the Russians interfering in our domestic politics. Surprise, surprise. As my mother taught me when I was a little boy, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. No? So, if we don't like the Russians interfering in our politics, don't be surprised if they don't like us interfering in their politics. And the same thing goes with the Chinese. That's the power of nationalism. You want to remember this as time goes by. Going into other countries and doing social engineering, you're asking for big trouble.